were gone, I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm gone.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Central Valley Talk. My name is Ray Johns. I'm your host, and the name of my show is Voices Not Yet Heard. And like we say every week, perhaps today could be the day that your voice could be heard. Now, I want to talk to you about something that I think is probably one of the I think could be considered the major problem in this country, the most important problem that we have to do away with, and that's what's happening with the media. Now, I did a little research, and I found that they have a journalistic creed. This creed hangs in the press club, the National Press Club, actually in Washington, D.C., and basically what it says, and it's real lengthy, so I'm just going to give you the basics of what it says. It said that they hold journalism itself to be a public trust. Isn't that amazing? I just love that, to be a public trust. And anything that violates that public trust, that doesn't put that public trust first and foremost, is a betrayal of that creed. I love that, because I think any time that something so powerful influences tens of millions of people, then they carry with that a responsibility as well as being accountable for their actions. Gary?
Yeah, that was great, Ray. I mean, that's kind of what we assume anyway.
Mm-hmm.
With it.
Yeah, we do. Hannity said months ago, and you and I talked about this, he said journalism in this country has died, and it has. The people don't know what to believe, right. and half of the things that we see is false. I mean, look what they're doing to Donald Trump.
Right.
There hasn't been a president in history that have been bombarded as much as Donald Trump, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? He's still standing.
Well, the press is a betrayal.
Absolutely.
And as well as so many of what we assumed in the past as being honorable people and with our interests in mind.
Yeah.
And that I went back and thought about that, and that really kind of ended about the time that Johnson became president.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of speculation and conspiracy and so forth that John Kennedy was killed and not by the establishment.
Oh yeah. That was one of the first theories that came out, and it's still a very strong theory.
Yeah, at one time I didn't like to think about that.
I didn't either, and I didn't believe it.
I've been back there to that book depository. In fact, I was there not too long.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. At that time, they just let you go on in.
Uh-huh. Have they turned it into some kind
of?
Oh
yeah, you can. I don't even know if you can get there back there. But at that time, you just go up the stairs and you'll see that you're just looking right down on there. It really gets you when you do that.
Oh, I bet it does.
But that whole thing, I think, basically started, and back after with Johnson, because that Vietnam War was a total disaster, and it was it's almost.
I keep thinking of people that you could, the black market. A lot of people got rich off Vietnam.
Oh man,
a lot of people did.
The whole industrial complex. It was total corrupt, okay? Mm-hmm. And that was all during the Johnson deal, and the people that gave their lives and lost relatives and so forth. Such a tragedy.
Wasn't it 59,000 people died in Vietnam?
Well, you go that wall, there
they
are. I mean, I got a cousin on there, and I was in there during that time.
You were flying then.
Well, I got half my class names on that thing.
Oh, gosh, that's sad.
And
sad. What a waste.
I mean, these are guys just like you and I are sitting here. Next thing you know, they're gone, and they're only 22, 23, 25 years old.
What a loss of life.
And all because
loss of life.
Of the corruption at that time, which is carried on, except for one time where there's been an interruption, and that is when Reagan was president. Mm-hmm. Now, he was hated by the establishment.
Of course,
and the Uniparty.
Absolutely, because he took money out of their pockets.
And
that's
they
the bottom line.
tried to kill him. If you want.
Oh yeah, with Hinckley. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they try to kill that guy, but he's the one president. Now you go back to Kennedy, which is 63.
Mm-hmm.
Now you go to how many years it is up to right now. call it 50 years, and think there only been one time that we had a president that looked out for the people?
One time.
Just
That's
once.
right. One time.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan.
And one way to kind of, it gets confusing, but I'm trying to see if we can't break it down in a simple form.
All right.
Okay, you see what's going on with Trump right now with the media and so forth. Okay, then we go to the next level, and we think of that, and then we have the press down here. Okay, now what we didn't know until just recently, and most of us do not know today because it's never been told to us by the press and so forth, is there's really two separate governments. There's the government of Congress and Senate, which is elected by the people, and there's the deep state government.
Oh, yes.
And we're just now starting. I've never heard that word a year ago.
Explain that a little bit, Gary, because
Well-
I know I've got some viewers out there and listeners who won't understand that.
Well,
so give us
okay.
just something real simple about the deep
Yeah,
state.
and I'm gonna explain the deep state this way. It's made up of both Republicans and Democrats. They don't. There's no distinct. They don't argue with.
They're just special interests, is basically
Yeah,
what they
that's
are.
what it is, and that's a good word. And it's call it establishment, call it uniparty meaning both Democrat, Republican, and call it the. Well, you could call it what they call it the deep state,
Yeah.
which is primarily former bureaucrats that are now working in the government, but it's a shadow government. But it makes all the decisions. Who's behind it? Well, there's a number of things behind it. The multinationals.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about,
Okay, now we could be talking about industry.
oh, yes.
Manufacturing.
Yeah.
There's a direct path from the deep state to Wall Street.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay? These are people that are all over the globe. That's the globalists. And these are people all over the globe that operate all over the world and basically take the United States, I call it skinning or shearing, because we stay here, and getting rich somewhere else
Oh, yes.
by taking. Well, actually, you're getting it done cheap there, and I don't care what it is, but you got these people here that are getting ripped off with it.
Yeah.
Okay, now the best way to try to make it simple is think of it like this. Then you got the government. Now, it's like two layers, all
Okay.
right? Right now, here's Trump's layer, the administration and his people.
Yeah.
Down here is you've got the journalism, the Congress,
All
the
of them
Senate.
fighting Trump all the way.
They all belong to this deep state.
Yeah.
Give you an example how big it is. They have more square footage in office space than the Pentagon.
You got to be kidding.
That surprised me.
That surprises
And
me.
they're building. There's one building. I think it's in Utah. 73,000 square feet.
Good grief. To be used for what?
Well, I said that there's something like 70-some million square feet total.
Jeez.
Okay, and these are these people that are running us. Okay, and this group, they're highly paid. So let's say you're a senator, you're a congressman, you're way up in the bureaucracy, and now you're retired. But these people are retiring young. You retire like in your 50s.
Well, when you get all that special interest money, you can afford to.
Well, there's the thing. You now go to work for these people, and your income jumps considerably.
Oh, I can imagine.
I was surprised with this also. There's 890 some. Let's call it 1 million. There's 1 million people working the shadow government that we don't ever hear about.
That is interesting, Gary.
Okay,
Very interesting.
let's just call it 1 million with top secret clearance.
Good grief.
800 and some thousand. I mean, yeah, that right now are working their top secret clearance, and basically they're at the bidding of who? Well, they're bidding of this elite.
Of the elite, yeah.
Of that establishment, which we can name the family. There's about 10 of them, but then there's another.
Yeah.
Probably who knows how many people that actually belong to that. What they don't care if you're a Republican.
They're the ones that
right
they're the ones that influences the media. Of course they are.
Yeah.
They have it.
Okay,
They own the media.
So let's see what's going on right now. We have two layers right now, two tiers. You notice how Trump and the administration, they're going about doing everything that they're doing, right? With jobs and with borders and everything.
Yeah.
He's right now foreign policy. He's in Mid-East, right?
Yeah.
But you notice it's almost like it's more like a mosquito keeps bugging him.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going about doing what they said they're going to do. I mean, the border crossing is cut by 70%.
That's amazing.
Just think about that.
Yeah, since he took over.
Look at the jobs, almost 1 million new jobs already, and just
He's doing
stuff like that.
everything that he said he would do. He's doing every bit of it.
The gangs, 45,000 have already been shipped back.
Good.
You see? Well, you never
But you don't hear that, do
No,
you? You don't hear that. You
okay?
will not hear that.
So here's how you have to look at it. Hopefully this, for everybody can understand it, all right?
Okay.
That's the way I could do it. All right. You remember the old days when you had a chicken yard with fryers.
Oh, yeah. My mother had a lot of them.
Well, you had a lot of, everyone did, out in the country,
Yeah.
right? So if you'll notice, you have a barnyard out there, and you have all these chickens in that barnyard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're fussing and mussing all the time.
Yeah.
They're crowing and crowing.
Yeah.
I mean, you just hear that racket all that. They're
that's true.
scratching and they're
Yeah.
fighting, and they're trying to get territory.
Yeah.
I mean, they go through that. I mean, for months, right?
It's a daily thing. You're
And
right.
you hear all that. Oh, dang chicken! I gotta go out.
Yeah.
And this and that. And they're just chasing one. They just raise holy Cain.
Yep.
And you can hear it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting there in the house. You're not paying too much attention to other than
Because
that.
you're so used to it, for one thing.
Well, yeah, you're so used to it. That's a good point you made. You're so used to it. You don't get to where you hardly notice it. But they're fussing and mussing the entire time. What happens eventually? What happens eventually, it's time to make fried chicken.
I love his analogies. They're great. They're absolutely great.
So you go out there and you have the day, well, we're going to change all this to fried chicken, right?
Yeah.
Well, all that fussing and mussing didn't amount to anything,
No.
right? Didn't change anything.
Didn't change a thing.
Didn't change a thing. So you go out there and it's time to butcher these chickens. All that fussing, mussing, and all that was just a waste of time.
For not.
For not. And
Great
that's what's
analogy.
going on right now
Yeah.
when you see the deep state, the journalists and the Congress and the Senate,
Yeah.
these Democrats that are trying to find anything. All that is, just think of it this way: they're just a bunch of chickens. But what's going on in the meantime? Trump's over there, man. He's doing it.
He's
what he said
done
he
more
would
than things that we didn't even think he would do, and we've talked about this before on the show. One thing that he's done that I really, really appreciate, and that I'm sure the American is that slowly but surely, without saying anything, he's mending the Middle East. Look where he's going now.
Right.
And he's in all those countries that, because of Korea, that are back in the U.S., Jordan, Saudi Arabia, all of them,
Well, look what he's done in a matter of 4 months. The Mideast
Mm-hmm.
is there right now. Look what's happening with China. Look what's happening with Russia. Look what's happening.
This has
all
never
over
happened.
The world.
This has never
All
happened
over
in
the
another
world.
administration.
All over
ever,
right?
Has this happened?
And he's done that in a 4-month period. There again, he's over there doing this and letting those chickens over there
Yeah.
just squawk and everything. And it's like you can't, it's just sort of, it's irritating, but after a while you just get to where you don't even pay attention.
I'm so excited about his trip. I'm so excited to see what's going to be, because something big is going to come out of this. I just know it. Something big.
Well, and that's going to lead to the other thing, which is going to be a world peace, which Russia's starting. Putin. He's
It's
coming
headed
on
that way.
side.
I mean, all of a sudden it was a dark cloud and everybody was
Yeah.
on their edge, and it's headed. Like you, I
Yeah.
wasn't even going to say this. I think we're slowly headed toward world peace.
Right.
Man, can you imagine?
Well, let's look at it that way, and let's try to keep it in that perspective, because if you got to think of this Trump thing and the media thing and what's here, you just got to think of it in 2 layers. You can't think of it as one, and there's no gray in there.
No.
So that's them
It's either-
chickens out
it's either
there.
or,
And
yeah.
he just basically just goes on running the government like he knows how it's supposed to be done.
Exactly.
The world foreign policy like he knows how, and he just lets these chickens fuss and muss all
Exactly.
they want.
He doesn't pay any attention to him.
No,
I've
and
noticed
neither
that.
should we.
Yeah. Thank you. Say that again, Gary.
Neither should we.
Neither should we.
I've got sure I want to know about it, but I've gotten to where I cut out all of that.
I do too.
I
do
just-
too. I'm starting to do that. I
yeah.
got that from you.
You know.
There's very like you. You just go to reports. I still
Yeah.
look at Fox. I still look
Oh,
at
yeah,
Blue Dobbs
yeah.
and those things.
Yeah.
But I will not look at CNN. I don't see any reason to. I just won't, because I know what I'm going to hear.
I'm not
in what
even
I'm gonna see.
interested in the lies, in this. Oh, this guy said he did this and that.
Exactly.
I just cut all that out.
Yeah.
Okay, just go that route.
Totally false journalism, and it
Yeah.
abounds everywhere.
Do I care about, so and so leaked this and so and so? Well, if it's illegal, put them in jail. If it's not, quit talking about
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
And so what Trump has basically done is gone ahead of that, carrying out everything as best he can, and let these chickens out in the yard, and then it's going to come a time.
Oh yeah.
There's going to come a time, right? Of course, we're all looking for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And if
it
you
makes
think-
me smile just thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because look, here's the deal I'm trying to keep it simple. Think about this. What is the intent and the motive for the press, for the politicians, both Republican and Democrat? What is their intent and motive? And their intent and motive is to destroy Trump
Of course.
because of their real intent and motive is to enrich themselves.
Of course it is, because they've been doing it for years and years, and now it's slowly coming to an end.
Well, I mean, my
and they're
God,
desperate.
Well, I just got elected. I guess it's time for me to get my share of this thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's my intent and motive. Go back to enrich myself.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's contrast that with Trump's intent and motive. He has no intent and motive because he's got all the money in the world, right?
You can't be bought.
He
We've
cares
said
less
that at
about the power. He had all
Yeah.
the power he needed,
Yeah.
and he can't be bought. So he has no intent and motive other than one thing: the truth, and I should say two things: the truth and the American people.
and the American people.
That's it.
Gosh, I wish people could see that. That's his intent.
And you got to ask yourself, we talked about it before, the man wears a bulletproof vest. Why does a billionaire that's going to be sitting on a yacht, because he has a deep, deep love for this country, a love for the people in the country, and he also knows that he's the only one that can get it done.
That's right. We talked about that. He didn't want to do this. We talked about that before.
Well, who
That he
would
looked
want to do that?
Yeah.
But he feels that's his commitment. It's been great for him, and at his age and station, he doesn't need this.
No.
So what the press and the establishment, and all, they can't understand why this man doesn't fold. Why doesn't he quit? How come we can't stop? Because he has a totally different motive and intent than they do.
Absolutely.
And they can't see his
Absolutely.
intent because they don't feel that
Yeah.
way. Man, I'm up here to grab all I can get.
Yep.
Trump doesn't want anything. In fact, he turned down $400,000 salary. That's
That means absolutely nothing to him.
Well,
like you
and-
said, the
yeah.
American people, that's Donald Trump.
oh my Lord, it's just night and day. So once you see it that way, so just think of it simple: the layer up here, which is Trump and
the administration.
getting all these things
Yeah.
done. Just look at that. Don't let these chickens out in the yard hassle all they want.
Great analogy, Gary.
And then
Great.
and then now you begin to see the separation. Then think of this. Then think of the deep state as a shadow government. Basically, this is a country of two governments. And it's been this way for the last, I know for a fact, 50
What, 50
years.
years? Yeah.
Okay, so what do you have now? And it gets intensified. So it's two government. It's the government we elect, and it's been over 10 years since there's been a congressman right in
You
the
said that
legislation.
last week, and I was just blown away by that. We're going to take a little break,
Yeah.
Gary, and we're going to be back, ladies and gentlemen, say 2 and 2.
To be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I want
Okay, I'm back with my good buddy Gary, and we're discussing just about everything. Before the show, Gary and I were talking, and we were talking about, and it came up that, and we've talked about this before, what a great time it is in this country. What an exciting time. I mean, it's like we're all in a big giant movie, Gary,
Yep.
or something, and we're all a part of it. And to me, it is the most exciting time of my lifetime. Politically,
Well, Ray,
certainly.
I that's right, in several lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there hasn't been something this profound take place since the Civil War. That's a long
Good
time
point.
ago.
Good point.
Yeah, we had World War II, but the country was united.
Yeah.
Everybody was behind that.
Yeah.
And of course, we had the horrible depression. Mm-hmm. We got through that.
We got through that.
And that was a tough time. But that wasn't very exciting. It was miserable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the World War II was, it fellow
It's
Americans.
kind of
you
interesting sitting back and watching the things that Donald Trump and watching starting to accomplish things. He's in the embryonic stage of his administration
Well, 4
right now.
months.
Yeah, 4 months.
Out of 4 years.
Yeah,
But-
he's just
but-
getting started, and he's made a
Right.
tremendous steps.
Well, you look at some of the idiocy of some of this stuff. Okay, look at the investigations. I went through that. I was just curious. They're investigating. They're having investigations of investigating.
You gotta be kidding.
No, I mean it goes
What
like that.
idiots?
Well, we have an investigation of this, but we need an investigation because this we got to investigate the investigator.
What got me the other day
And
was
it'll just go on. It's like after a while you sit there and you say, well, we got Comey has an investigation, so we have to investigate Comey, but then they have to investigate us investigating Comey because of this, and it just goes and it's just like big circle.
it's insanity.
It's insanity. And so after a while, of course, if you're interested in that, you're fine. And then pretty soon it all becomes numb. And then pretty soon it's those chickens in the yard.
Yeah, chickens
and
in the
it
yard.
doesn't mean anything. And nothing's going to come of except for those chickens.
Because as you said before, which I love this term, there's a time of coming.
There's a time of coming. And if there's, well, whether there is or not for those chickens, it doesn't phase anything that you're doing in your house.
That's right.
Right? And you're still just living like you always did.
Yeah.
Trump's carrying on and governing with his people.
And making great progress.
And just like he's been doing for the last 4 months, like he said he was going to do, and he promised American people, and there hasn't been one that he hasn't done.
Absolutely. There hasn't been one.
Yeah.
Good point.
And he's got things to do, tax deal, they're huge, but he's taking it in due time, you know. So when you consider that part of it, you kind of sit back and you say, well, okay, it's kind of nice reading that, and we'll kind of get into it, but after a while, you become numb.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you say, okay, what's important? What is really important? And that's kind of the way I've treated this week with, And I said, yeah, I'm not going to get too excited about any of that at all, other than there is some exciting things. So I started looking at that, and I'm thinking about what's going on right now in the Mideast.
Oh, yes.
Which
That's
is
so
huge,
exciting to me.
And what's been going on with China. And here's an interesting thing that Trump mentioned that in his campaign, about our infrastructure. Well, the biggest thing that's going to come in the next 30 years or so is going to be infrastructure.
Yes.
World infrastructure. Okay, now think about after the Civil War and how the country developed in the next 50 years.
The Great Reconstruction period. That's what they called it.
There's never been anything since.
Yeah,
even
and that's why they
compared to
called
that.
it the Great Reconstruction period.
We didn't have railroads coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just phenomenal when you consider how much America did in that time frame.
Yes.
Okay, then we go into the roaring 20s, and then, of course, the Great Depression, which takes us into the
Second World War.
Yeah, Second World War. And which created another opportunity in terms of economically,
Yes.
right, for a lot of people, obviously.
Yeah.
All right, and then it's kind of just been sitting there stagnant, as I see it, as far as what's going. In fact, it's been going backwards.
Yes,
right?
it has. Certainly the last
and we could almost trace
20 years.
Well, we've had technology increase in terms of
Oh, yes.
progress. I mean, cell phones and so
Yeah.
on and on. But in the reality of the spirit of the whole thing, it's been going backwards, not forward. As far as the spirit of the American people,
Absolutely.
I mean, you would have never even dreamed of some of these people that you see on TV protesting. Those kind of people.
No.
I call them libtards or useful idiots or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
You never even dreamed.
I call
of
them
something
useless
like that.
idiots because, that's the way I see them.
But of course, they're useful for keep in control of that deep state.
Yeah.
Because they got to keep voting those guys in there, right? That's what they're being used for. I get a kick out and
Exactly.
say, well, the Democrats do something for the people.
Yeah,
My
I've heard
Lord,
that. I've
just-
heard that for 40 years,
I mean, just the opposite.
and
Total
I've been
opposite.
waiting. I've been waiting.
I mean-
Nothing has changed. I talked to a couple right across the street here today, and they said, "Take that Trump shirt off." I said, "No, I won't." And we had a black couple, and
Yeah.
we talked. After I finished with them, they said, "We want to talk to you again."
Oh, good. Well, poor people. You can't blame them. They're totally indoctrinated.
Exactly. That's
I mean,
what the media
Bob,
does.
That's what the media does. Well, come on. I mean, you got to. I can't blame people for being perhaps.
This poor lady looked at me and said this, and
man.
boy, that was right up my alley. It was just getting close to the show, and I had to come over there.
Oh,
and she
man.
says, well, Trump's going to take away Obamacare. I said, yes, he is. As well he should. Tell me what it's done for you. Explain to me what it's
Man.
done for you.
How would she like to be in Canada under a government type deal like that? That's why Canada. You go up north, it's all Canadian license plates. All the doctors are up there.
Yeah.
But anyway, this infrastructure thing, and the big key to it is China. And remember how Trump has always talked about infrastructure of the United States, right?
Yes.
And it is obsolete. And China is the leader in this whole thing. It's called what is it, Belt and Roadway or something like that.
Yeah, I think I heard of it.
You heard that name. You're going to hear a lot more.
Yeah.
So what's the big game plan is China is going to increase their infrastructure. I mean, it's phenomenal.
I can imagine.
Just roads alone, they figured enough. In the next 30 to 40 years, they're going to have enough roads that would equal going around the world almost three times.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Well, so is the other countries. Africa.
Yeah.
And they call it, the roadway and beltway and roadway.
Yeah.
Well, these are roads and infrastructure being built that will go into other countries. And Pakistan right now doing it. China, of course, is doing it. And Africa is doing it.
Oh, that's real interesting, Gary.
Well, think about this. This might surprise you. Okay, obviously, we think of South America. You can't drive a car to South America.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. Now think about it. There's 24 miles that you can't. That there's no roads.
Oh my gosh.
So they're going to connect the northern hemisphere with the southern hemisphere.
That's a biggie.
So just like I-5, goes
Yes.
on it. Well, they're going to, and it's only 24 miles to do it. They're going to build another canal like the Panama. And so this infrastructure is going to go through all over the Mid-East. And a very interesting thing, there will be connection with tunnels and so forth that will connect into Asia, from Alaska to Russia.
Oh, that's
All
amazing.
the Arctic. Okay,
Bringing the world closer together by transport.
exactly. Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, and not only that, but exposing, there's resources up there in the Arctic that we can't even put a value on it. That we are touching simply because we don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah, to do that.
Okay, what happens with the infrastructure? Same thing happened here when was the big migration, back starting in the 1850s,
Sure.
people come out, right? Well, the little towns.
Started springing up, yeah.
Yeah, and people start living there. You know what I mean? You start developing that, and it gives opportunity, because some of these cities, we already know what they're like. I mean, it's so congested. China, their congestion, it's hard to believe. They have some freeways that are 50 lanes,
Are you kidding?
and they become congested. People can't even move their cars. And they got to do something, right?
Oh my gosh. I know in some of their major cities like Shanghai, they have, you can get an oxygen mask on corners where you can put
Yeah.
in a coin and get some oxygen. How would you like to live under those conditions?
Well,
the pollution is just
we think-
incredible. Japan, I understand, is even worse.
And you think, like, for instance, I mean, it's almost impossible. You want to drive through L.A. Oh, my God, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to drive through Portland. I'm going to drive through Seattle. You can imagine all the way. It's just nothing but congestion. And we are so behind in our infrastructure and the modes of transportation that it's incredible, right? So what's going to happen here is China has asked the United States to participate in this global infrastructure all over the world. And the whole thing, the bottom line of it is connectivity. And they'll be able, like this one road in particular that China's building, it's going to save at least 10 hours to go from A to B as compared to it is now.
It's a big, that's
so
a lot.
So this is going to amount to jobs. This is going to amount to opportunity in areas that we never even heard of. Towns that'll have a different name, like it was here, I
Yes.
guess, when they started a town, like a railroad,
Yeah.
And so there's a huge opportunity, and the biggest opportunity in terms of world significance, and we'll talk about for the next 30 years, and that is going to be infrastructure. all over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah. And it's amazing what's going on in Africa. Well, who's building that? China is, you know. And they're connecting places that were never connected before. But what does that do? What does that mean? It means the standard of living that people have, it lifts them out of poverty.
It's going to go up.
China, in a relatively short period of time, has taken 500 million people, 500 million people, and raised them out of poverty because of what they've been doing in just the last, what?
Now you tell me that
years.
this isn't a road to world peace.
Well, of course.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Just absolutely outstanding.
And this is why and the Chinese premier, that XI, I can't pronounce, Z, I guess, or whatever. Man, he sees this. He wants this. He's promoting this.
Yes.
Well, who else is promoting? His buddy Trump.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Trump wants the same thing. And so what we're going to have is an opportunity. Now, we've been technology, you know, with computers for the last 20 years or so or more. But now you watch the next big opportunity that's going to open up is going to be our United States revamping their total infrastructure, which may even be the way we transport and so forth. Okay, now you take like that bullet train.
Yes.
Well, China's got bullet trains now. They're twice as fast as ours. Well, we don't have one, do we?
But supposedly what we're going to have.
We're going to have one. The problem is we have the wrong people administering it.
It is a mess.
Of all places,
that is a mess.
Of all places, to try to start something like magnitude of a bullet train, why is it up to the California bureaucrats to do it?
I agree, totally.
To put a bullet train that China would have it done by now.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, these guys are who knows when.
Well, it's under the table to them.
Ray, think about this. The guys that are supposed to be putting together this bullet train that should have been done a long time ago at a lot less price, they could not get an electric train to go around a Christmas tree.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? They are that incompetent. And so what is it going to take to get that done? I don't know. And when is it going to get done?
It's a totally mess. They keep, and for what?
Well, you take, for instance,
they're never going to pay it back.
Well, look at the bureaucracy. Okay, if you wanted to go put a fast food hamburger stand in Moscow, it'd take you about, to get approved and all, it'd take you about 80 to 100 days. And that's a red tape place, right? To get one in LA, it's going to take you 235 days.
Almost a year.
And
Three-quarters of a year.
And supposedly, Moscow is supposed to be nothing but red tape and all that. And here we are in California. You go try to do one down there, it's going to take you over twice as long as putting one in Moscow.
Good grief.
I mean, there's no chance, you know. So I think that the infrastructure in the next, let's say, 20 years, and it started already. I mean, it started in the different countries, like, of course, China. There's one China's going across the desert into Mongolia and all. Think what that does as far as natural resources that are locked up right now. Think what happens in terms of opportunity and so forth, you know. And we've got the same thing going for us here on our infrastructure that's obsolete, but we got to have smart people doing it. We can't have eggheads like we got right now. And they can't, like I said, they can't get an electric train to go around a Christmas tree.
And that speed train just keeps going on and on and on, and they still don't have an idea at all.
They don't even know where how to get it down there.
Yeah.
They were going to go through the hatchway and say, oh, well, wait a minute, San Andreas Fault. Couldn't they figure that out before? They got a Now they're thinking it on through Palmdale or something. I don't know.
They still haven't gotten it straightened out after all this time and all this money.
Well, at the end of the day, they put that train on the track. China's already got one twice as fast.
Good grief. Good grief. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a little break here, and we'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, say 2 and 2. Okay, I'm back. And, of course, with my good buddy Gary. And Gary's going to talk to you about something here about the school systems. And it's pretty darn interesting. We were discussing a little bit on the commercial break. Gary?
Yeah, we want to talk about what has happened to our education
Yes.
system, what has really, if you think about it, and we've been around long enough, went to it at one point to where we could look at it today, and you look at it, it's strictly indoctrination
Absolutely.
and not education.
Absolutely.
So this idea, are we producing more people who are educated? No, we're producing more people who are indoctrinated. Now we go back, as we mentioned, if we go back to like your grandmother's era, that was about, it was pretty, there were a lot of people who didn't go to school at all,
A lot of them didn't. And
you
don't-
know, but it was pretty accepted third grade education to
Sure.
fifth grade education.
Absolutely.
And basically what it was, you go there to learn how to read, writing, and arithmetic. Now with that, you can do anything after
Absolutely.
that. You don't need to be going to school anymore.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, you don't.
Yeah.
Especially now with the internet. You can educate yourself.
Absolutely. And people are doing that.
Well,
just
all
that
you need to
very
do
thing.
is learn how to read, write, and arithmetic, and that's basically all you need. Now, if you want to get a little more, yeah, you can. But guess what? You can do that by going to the
Sure.
internet.
Sure.
Self-educate yourself. And people are finding that this education thing is the biggest ripoff of the American people, and they're producing like widgets in a factory.
All liberal. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That's
And
a great
it's all
point.
indoctrination by who? By that deep state that wants to
Sure.
keep these people indoctrinated.
Sure.
Now, who's teaching these kids? Well, they were brainwashed themselves,
Yes.
and they're indoctrinated. So you got brainwashed people teaching brainwashed people, producing more brainwashed people.
Someone the other night, and I can't remember whether it was Hannity or Lou Dobbs, but somebody was talking about the very same thing, and,
Yeah.
and mentioned the fact that they are indoctrinated, and you know, it's amazing how they're turning out these people, and they are like widgets. They're all the same.
Yeah,
you know?
and the idea is you go to work for you get a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go to college so you can get a job. That's not what you go to college for. Why don't you go get a job right out of high school? In fact, what used to be pretty common, you'd quit at 14. Oh, I quit and get a job.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, yes, I
14
remember
years
people
old, people
that-
quit, right? Quit school.
My parents were like that.
Yeah, I quit school and get a job.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go to college to go get a job. Quit high school and then you go get a job. That's what you need. In fact, you don't need to finish high school. Just quit at 14, whatever the age is now, 60. Just quit and go get a job. You don't go to college to go get a job. You go to college because you're going to improve what you do as a business or
Exactly.
a profession.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want to learn a profession of some sort. Now, one of the professions that they promote the living heck out of is a profession in indoctrination, which is now you become a professor or a
like him,
teacher
yeah.
like them, right?
And look at our
And look,
colleges.
they're cranking them out.
Look at our colleges.
Look at-
look at them.
Yeah.
I mean, from those mamby-pamby young
Yeah.
gals that
And
because
you-
Hillary won,
boy,
that
that's
needed
illustrated.
Oh my, that's a perfect illustration. And
Yeah.
that needed the dogs and the hot chocolate that night because they were so distraught. I just every time I think about that, it cracks me up. My goodness.
But-
and that's what we're turning out.
That's
what we're turning
I'm
out.
getting at.
you
So,
know.
okay, now, let's go back to that. Well, yeah, boy, that was pretty good. But like my grandmother or grandfather, when they were young, boy, you're third grade, fifth grade, you know how to read and write.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. Then pretty soon, well, wait a minute. You go to 14. In fact, it was encouraged. Well, you know all you need to know.
Yeah.
So you quit school and
Go
go
to
back
work.
to the ranch and go to work, right? Oh, and there's a few went to college, Well, now, then it was a big deal. Like for instance, back then, like say your dad's age, my dad's age, and then back then it was a big deal if you graduated high school.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was pretty good. Then it's pretty good about my time frame, and then it's a pretty big deal if you graduate college.
Same
Well,
with
now
them.
you got everybody going to college, and what are they kicking out? I
Well,
mean, they're
there's
kicking out.
There's an example of them out there every day.
Well, I mean, my Lord, it's nothing that has to do with being about freedom and liberty.
No.
It has everything to do about being dependent
Yes.
and counting on what? Just like you mentioned earlier about that couple you were talking to
Oh yeah.
about, where am I going to get this goodie?
Oh yes.
See, that's not
just
not
say-
liberty. That's
yeah.
not freedom. You might as well.
Oh,
well,
that's
but
awful.
I
But
guess-
it's so true,
yeah,
Gary.
yeah.
It's so
now, who
very true.
controls all that and gets rich by it?
The Deep South.
The
The Deep
state.
State. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now we're not talking about the congressman, and because they enrich themselves by getting elected,
Oh yeah.
and because this
We're
is
talking about that second level of government.
that
yeah.
which is running the government.
Yeah.
These people are not running. Who you think's running the government's not running the government. It's like Nunes, Devin Nunes. He sends me an email, and he says, we're going to, next week we're opening up investigation of the Russian deal.
Yeah.
I wrote him back, who in the world cares about what the Russians or anybody else? I said,
what a waste of time, Gary.
I told Mike this. I said, listen, that's not our threat. The Russians are not a threat, or anybody else. Our threat is our own government.
Exactly.
I said, that's
and
who I
has
fear.
been. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the one that's taking freedom away. I've never had a Russian pull me over and give me a speeding ticket. Have you?
No, not yet.
I've never had a Russian knock on my door and tell me I'm putting water on the wrong day.
Yeah. No, it's not going to
I'm not worried about Russia.
No.
I'm worried about you. What are
That's
you
right.
doing? All you're doing is...
That's where the turmoil, that's where the diversity is. Right now, that's where we're divided.
I said, you've been having investigation after investigation. Now you're emailing me telling me you're going to have another investigation on the Russians. Like, I care? Come on.
I mean, that's just... That's hard to believe. That's just so
Well, my
ridiculous.
God, I didn't hardly believe that he'd have...
You must have cracked up when you said that. You
Well,
wrote it right away.
I read that, and I said, man, that guy is so out of tune of the common touch of the American people to think that anybody would give a damn about him having another.
cares?
He
That's
said,
right.
I said, what I want to know is what are you doing about the corruption?
Yeah, do you think we may have a few other things that's
Yeah.
a little bit more important than
Yeah,
that?
maybe you ought to check in and see the corruption. Yeah. Maybe you ought to check into the deep state and see how much they're ripping off. And then I told him like this. I didn't tell him what we talked about. I said, who's getting the other 93%? He's going to say, well, I wonder what that means. I just said, I didn't say, explain nothing more. I just said, who gets the 93% that the people aren't getting?
Where does that go? Yeah.
I just left it like that. And then you put down there, you can reply. He's never replied.
He's not going to reply.
Well, he's not the only one. Of
no,
course.
I know that.
But here's what else is not the only one. I'm not the only one writing that. People are upset, and they're writing their congressman, and those people, they can't even keep up with it.
Oh, I bet they can.
In fact, that guy, Herman Cain,
Yeah.
the black guy, the rep,
Yeah.
he said, hey, here's a phone number, call, and get involved.
He's he's a good Republican.
Oh,
man. I
that's
like
awesome.
that man. Yeah.
Guess what? That line is so, nobody can get in.
That's good. That's what we need.
Well,
that's
of course,
good.
that's what we need. Now we got Sheriff Clark in there. Do you notice that?
No, what's happening with him? I haven't. I've been waiting.
He's going to be
in
in that Homeland Security, and that is a big plus.
Is he going to work for them?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
Gary.
yeah. No, he just got this. This came up 2 days ago, I guess.
Oh, I didn't see. I missed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's leaving Milwaukee, and he's going to go work at Homeland. Oh man.
We got the right man in the right job, the right position.
Boy, everybody's excited about that.
Oh yeah.
know.
That man is he makes things happen.
But you see how out of touch they are. Okay, now I just still can't get over it. Okay, here's Devin Nunes. I met him. He's a nice guy. Blah blah.
Yeah.
All right. He's just like you and me.
Yeah.
But he's been corrupted.
Oh yeah.
He's been there too long.
Oh yeah. That's what
He
happens.
has no feeling for that. Why would he think that Gary Miguel sitting out here in Africa would give a damn about the Russians?
Yeah.
Oh, we're investigating those Russians and their involvement with Trump. Well, I just want to hey, why don't you go out to the chicken yard and go tell the chickens for all I care.
Really, because it doesn't.
What
doesn't
I
amount
care
to
about, what are you doing about the corrupt, the crooked people that are both Republican and Democrat? What are you doing about
What a
them?
waste of time and paper just to even send it to you, or email it to you. The email.
Well, it's an
What a waste of
insult.
time.
I took it as an insult.
Well, yeah.
I'm thinking, well, does this guy think I'm one of those useful idiots down here?
Yeah. Who they prey on? Yeah.
And if you think about, like I call them the libtards, liberals, those people, I mean, they're out of college. Think how much wiser your parents were when they got out of what grade they went to compared to these idiots that get with college graduates and they don't know who's buried in Grant's tomb.
I love that Waters World. Boy, he goes in and he asks questions like you would not. I mean, the simplest questions that everyone knows the answer to, and they go, it's just amazing. This is on a college campus, and it proves what you said. What are they learning?
I know it.
They asked this one. It was two girls together. They asked one. I can't remember what college it was. It was a community college, I think, in Boston. But they asked them. They said, "Who was the second president of the United States?" And she looked and she said, "I think it was Lincoln, right after Washington." I went, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?"
But
they're in college.
Well, and Yeah, I mean, we're just idiots. I mean, people back in your mom and dad when they were in school, and my mom and dad when they were in the fourth grade, they knew who the first president was. They knew who Lincoln was.
Yeah.
These people don't know. They get out, but they're cranking out those widgets, and
All the same.
and it's votes. And I just read where there was 7 million just now discovered so far, 7 million voters who were illegal voters. They were illegals that voted. Guess who they voted? All those, you know who all they voted for, right? So you knock 7 million right there, not counting all the dead, the ones that were voted, off of Hillary's total and see where she ends up with. And common sense says when you go to rallies, Trump's got 30,000 people and she's got an 8th grade class she's trying to fill. She can't be getting that many votes. So anyway, that's over and done with. But the Democrats are hanging on desperately because they're owned, controlled by the deep state. Forget about this up here because they're not running anything anyway. That's why everything's coming out of there. Paths right to Wall Street. Wall Street is probably the biggest path, and of course that's all the companies, these multinational companies. And boy, they stand to lose just in 1 year alone $3 trillion if Trump gets by with what he's doing. So yeah, I mean Trump's in danger. And but what happens if he gets that accomplished as he goes along? Who's going to benefit? It's going to be the American people.
Are you kidding? Of course it is. Yeah, the American
how
people.
About let's just look at some little thing. Oh, it's not little, but I mean, let's say you and I are living in the ghetto, okay, and we're trying to get by with our lives as the best we can. We might even own a little store there, you know. Man, aren't we? We're constantly threatened with gangs. We're scared.
Yeah.
We're scared to death to walk around.
to work or drive to work.
We're scared for our kids. We're scared for our families, but we're stuck in here, and we're living there. And what kind of life is that?
It isn't a life.
And so if we get away and who's doing something about it? Even though, boy, I've always been raised to vote Democrat. I've been raised to vote for Hillary. But, man, the one that's helping me now, and I see they move that. I don't see that guy anymore. What happened to him? Oh, they sent him back. Oh, they did? Yeah, boy, he used to threaten me all the time. Who did that? Donald Trump.
You're doggone right. That's what I was telling those young people today in their car. I was telling them that.
Yeah. So who did that? Donald Trump, right? Well, but Donald Trump, think about this still a little bit. Donald Trump is really a representative or messenger of you and I, the American people.
Of course he is.
So
when he says that all the time.
So when you insult Trump, he's just the messenger.
That's right.
He's not the dictator. He's just doing what I want done. I want my neighborhood clean, and that's getting done.
Yes.
Okay. Now, it's an insult when if you tell me that no, I don't want Trump. I don't see how in the world you can back Trump. Well, you know what? You just insulted me like that Devin Nunes just did when he sits there thinking I'm worried about the Russians.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm tired of being insulted by these.
And that's what's happening. You're right, Gary.
By these liberals. Think about it. Aren't you tired of being insulted by this Berkeley outfit, by that Moonbee Brown?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Even though we know they're getting paid, we're still tired of where does it come from? That's,
Well, it's what they pass and what they get done that's affecting me personally.
Yeah.
And so how are they, in fact, they're not doing anything for me.
No.
Except taking my freedoms away and my liberty.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to.
That's why I'm so glad, and I say it all the time, I am so delighted that we have Donald Trump.
Well, he's a representative of what people think.
Yes.
So now when you start to think of it a little different, let's say I was a Clinton backer or a Democrat or a crooked deep state person, and then I start seeing this, well then you start thinking a little different. You say, wait a minute. Man, we're talking about America here. And the way I've been thinking, that's not America at all. That's just Venezuela.
Absolutely. It's kind of scary. Well, it looks like, as it happens every week when we have Gary on, we've run out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining the show today. And I want to, like I say every week, we lost 2 more law enforcement officers back east again. That's the second week that I know of. So it's always so sad to me, and I reiterate what I said last week, that these are men who will not get to see their children grow up, and it saddens me so, because it's so useless. So let's do our part. Like I say every week, when you see a law enforcement officer, take a second, go up, stick your hand out, tell him thank you for the job that he does for a pittance of pay, and putting his life out there in danger every single day that they go out. They're wonderful people. And our men and women in blue in Fresno is certainly no exception. They are an outstanding group of law enforcement officers. So pay homage to them, please. So until we meet again, joyously, next Friday at 3 o'clock, heaven's blessings.
Hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say